what's a black grand national? Fuck being rational, give them what they ask for. It's not enough. Few solid niggas left, but it's not enough. Few bitches that are really stepped, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on their ass. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made them niggas mad. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I take the G bag. Yeah, watch a nigga do it. We survived outside, all from the music, nigga. What? They like, what he on? This the Alpha and Omega, bitch. Welcome home. This is not a song. This is a revelation. How to get a nigga gone. You need you a man, baby. I don't understand, baby. Pay a bill and make you feel protected like I can, baby. Teach you something if you need correction. That's the plan, baby. Don't put your life in these weird niggas' hands, baby. Whoa! It's not enough. Few solid niggas left, but it's not enough. Few bitches that are really stepped, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on their ass. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made them niggas mad. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I take the G bag. Yeah, watch a nigga do it. We survived outside, all from the music, nigga. What? Hey, turn this TV off. Ain't with my type activities, then don't you get involved. Hey, look, how many shit I see? Send them off. Take a risk or take a trip. You know I'm tripping for my dog. Who you with? Couple sergeants and routines for the get back. This revolution been televised. I fell through with the knickknacks. Hey, young nigga, get your chili up. Yeah, I meant that. Hey, black out. If they act out, yeah, I did that. Hey, what's up, though? I hate a bitch that's hating on a bitch and they both hoes. I hate a nigga hating on them niggas and they both broke. If you ain't coming for no chili, what you come for? Nigga feel like he entitled cause he knew me since a kid. Bitch, I cut my granny off and she don't see it how I see it. Got a big mouth, but he lack big ideas. Send him to the moon, that's just how I feel. Yeah, then it's not enough. Few solid niggas left, but it's not enough. Few bitches that are really stepped, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. Hey. Niggas acting bad, but somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on the gas, but somebody gotta do it. Turn this TV off, turn this TV off. 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 Ain't no other king in this rap thing, they siblings. Nothing but my children. One shot, they disappearing. I'm in a city with a flag beginning thrown like it was past interference. Padlock around the building. Crash pulling up in on my truck just to play freeze tag. With a bone to pick like it was sea bass. So when I made it out, I made about 50K from a show. Trying to show niggas the ropes before they hung from a rope. I'm prophetic. They only talk about it, how I get it. Only good for saving face, seen the cosmetics. How many heads I gotta...
Day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help, but no one hears me. One day I feel I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for peace.
Boom! Welcome. It is your boys, the WCW Tag Team Champions of the world. It is Neek representing Neek Cade, representing Dirt Sheet Radio, representing the brand itself, Nick LaRocco, and of course, you can't have one tag team champion. You need to have both of them. This is an NWA show, after all. They love their tag team wrestling. So, joining me is the man, the myth, the legend. Introduce yourself, my man, Mac.
Hey guys, it's Mac. I'm here reviewing a show that I was 3 years old at the time, so I'm very excited to talk about the 1985 Starrcade that we had from the Omni Coliseum in Atlanta and the Greensboro Complex in North Carolina.
Yes, this is a historic show, and quite frankly, this was logistically groundbreaking when you consider the fact that you have two venues that are going to be having wrestling streamed to us, and this is actually several months before everything that WWF tried doing with 3 arenas for WrestleMania 2, and Mac, I don't know about you, I think that NWA, WCW, JCP, I think they did a much better job with a multi-venue show.
Yeah, I mean, and they put on a better show, too, because, I mean, WrestleMania 2, you know, in a nutshell, I'm sure for the time was good, but I haven't watched WrestleMania 2 in many years, but I'm sure it wasn't as good as this. So I can't wait to dive into it. I really enjoyed this show. Couple of duds, couple of farts from an ass, but overall, show, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Absolutely. And before we get into the show itself, I think it's appropriate that we pay our respects to everybody that was a part of the card. So we'll go over a couple of dark matches really quick. Not much to talk about with these. It's more of just mentioning them because they happened. We'll start. Mac, I want to have you pick where we start. Would you like to start with Greensboro, or would you like to start with the Omni?
Let's go with the Omni.
All right. So Omni dark matches started with Thunderfoot number 1 being managed by J.J. Dillon, defeating the Italian Stallion, longtime jobber to the stars in this era of Mid-Atlantic. So, hey, kudos to Italian Stallion getting his opportunity in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Thunderfoot, was that Gene Lagan? I don't remember.
I can look it up. Yeah, just keep going. I'll look it up.
And we had another dark match. We had Pistol Pez Watley getting a victory on Starrcade in this dark match up against one Mr. Mike Graham.
So it looks like Joel Detton.
Oh, yeah, Joel Deaton?
Joel Deaton. Yeah, was the original Thunderfoot. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Hey, shout out to him getting a victory on Starrcade 85, technically. And for those who might not know Mike Graham, of course, the famous quote of Jeff Jarrett, never being able to draw a dime, comes from him. As well as his proud declaration that he was the one who got Hulk Hogan signed to WCW later on. But on the flip side of that, we also had events in wrestling going on at the Greensboro Coliseum from Greensboro, North Carolina. Dark match. Don Kernodle defeated Tommy Lane. Is that Tommy Lane of the Rock and Roll RPMs?
I don't know, really. But Don Kernodle is actually on this show on the outside, but nice to see that he got some reps in the ring before the show.
Absolutely. And on top of that, we also had a dark title match go on right before everything went on the air. You had the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title. Champion Denny Brown defeated the legendary Rocky King.
Rocky King? Jeez, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Denny Brown and Rocky King actually sound like a real fun match. So that was a...
How long did that go, Nick? Does it have a time?
No times listed, but that actually happened right before Crusher Khrushchev and Sam Houston. So, Mac, I don't know if you're ready. We should just dive right into Starrcade 85, The Gathering.
Yeah, man. So we get Tony Schiavone, who looks like a baby Alex Trebek. I don't know about you, but he really looked like Alex Trebek.
He was only like 28 years old at the time, too, at this point.
Yeah. That mustache was crazy. But we got Johnny Weaver in the back, and he's running down the cards. And I noticed about Johnny Weaver that his head looks like Abdullah the Butcher's in this. He has a bunch of the old razor burn, as we say. But so Johnny Weaver says that there's 30K fans between the Omni Coliseum in Atlanta and the Greensboro Complex in North Carolina, which is a very healthy crowd, like 15,000 for both, which is really good, considering 1985 NWA,
Absolutely. And, when I'm looking at like modern sources, it looks like there's even more. It's like roughly around 18,000 in Greensboro and about 16,000 for the Omni.
Wow, that's really good numbers, man.
Yeah.
So we start the show with a shot of the American flag with the national anthem being played. I don't know about you, Nick, but on the WWE Network version, there's like 10 seconds of like pitch darkness. I had to check and see if my video had like frozen or cut off. The video quality here is really kind of shit, but it is 1985. Looks like it was shot on a potato, so But our first match of the night, like Nick just said after the junior title match.
Don't forget the bright brown bow tie on Tom Miller.
Oh yeah, he looks like a smacked ass. But Sam Houston versus Crusher Khrushchev is up first for the NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight title. Crusher Khrushchev has had a career, Nick. Up to this point, he's just he's with Ivan and Nikita Koloff. They're a trio. But people might know Crusher Khrushchev as Barry Darsow, who was Demolition Smash. Mr. Hole-in-One, the Blacktop Bully, and also the Repo Man. I just have to do this little aside, Nick.
Yes.
The second episode ever of WWF Monday Night Raw opens with Vince McMahon and Macho Man Randy Savage like doing commentary by the table, and the Repo Man just comes up behind Macho Man and smashes him and repossesses his hat. And the thing was that Macho Man had bought the hat on layaway and couldn't pay for the hat. So I don't know if that reflected badly on Vince McMahon for not paying Macho Man enough, or Vince was paying Macho Man enough and he was irresponsible with his currency.
Hey, listen, like Repo Man's just got a job to do, okay? Like,
yeah. He's like the Silver Surfer to the Galactus. He serves a higher power.
Yeah, Barry Darsow, though, he's awesome. He is one of those guys, like, there is a long-running history of tough, big, burly men from Minnesota in pro wrestling, and Barry Darsow is without a doubt one of those guys. And, you know, he is, as not that Tom Green puts in some of his WCW reels, you know, he rules because of the fact that he is the most cartoon-esque wrestler.
Oh,
and
dude,
that's why he's awesome. He's so animated, he's so extra, he's so campy, and I love him for that.
But yeah, Khrushchev became a part of the trio with Nikita Koloff and Ivan Koloff when Don Kernoodle had a bad falling out with the Koloffs recently. So Sam Houston has a huge babyface reaction over the Russian because, you know, Russia bad, 1985.
Exactly. lots of girls in the crowd were really happy to see Sam Houston as well.
Oh yeah, they were screaming like crazy. Yeah.
Shout out to Sonny Fargo's yellow pants and yellow shirt. I had to come represent Possum as well as Sonny Fargo, baby.
Yeah, Sonny Fargo looking like the guy that owned Curious George.
He does, doesn't
he? Yeah. So yeah, this match was really good. It starts off with a great head scissors by Houston. Khrushchev tries pulling the hair, but tries pulling the hair, and we are in Rest Hold City. Khrushchev, the Crusher reverses it to a great pinning combination. It looked like it might have been a 3 count, but Houston right back up with the head scissors. Big Russian picks him up and puts him on the top rope. They do a leapfrog into a drop kick and an arm drag by Houston. We're back in Rest Hold City. Houston keeps the arm lock applied until the Russian gets the ropes. Irish whip, and Khrushchev takes Sam up in the air and just lets him hit the mat. And his corpse just hits the mat hard. He threw him way up there. Crusher with the body press and sends Houston back down to the mat, covering a 2 count. Houston tries to come back off of an Irish rip, but Crusher is too strong and sends him crashing to the mat with a forearm. Houston does some really good punches and has the Russian in the corner. 5 punches to the head, Irish rip across the ring. He calls for the bulldog and hits it, covered by Khrushchev, but he gets his foot on the rope. Houston, like the stupid typical babyface, celebrates, but because he didn't see Crusher get his foot on the rope and thinks he won, he turns around into the Russian sickle. Khrushchev gets the 3 count and becomes the champ, but the replay shows that Houston had his foot on the bottom rope, but the referee did not see it. So we have a new Atlantic heavyweight champion, and his name is Crusher Khrushchev. Nick, what did you think of this babyface versus the strong heel, typical foreign Russian match?
You know, this Russian man, you know, he has such a Minnesotan accent. It's interesting.
We see that later in the interview.
But you know what? I thought when I first watched the match, I was just like, this feels kind of slow, but, you know, you got a young Sam Houston who still is developing, and you can still tell, you know, with the bloodline with, like, you know, Rockin' Robin and, like, Jake the Snake Roberts, that, you know, he's got the lineage, he's got all the credentials needed to really step up to the plate. And of course, Crusher Khrushchev, Barry Darsow, one of the all-time greats when it comes down to just being purely entertaining. And I think both of these guys work really well in the combination of the big man versus the smaller babyface. All in all, you know, while this match was very, very slow in certain parts, like you said, Mac, you know, Rest Hold City, I think this was a fun way to open it, considering some of the other matches on the card. And if you will believe it, everyone listening and watching this at home, This is probably one of the handful of matches on this card that had no blood in it, so there's also something to praise there with this. But I thought this was definitely probably one of the good choices for an opening match. And shout out to Crusher Khrushchev getting this title victory on Starrcade, because as we talked about a little bit off the air, Crusher Khrushchev, Barry Darsow, is going to be dealing with a career-threatening injury shortly.
Blows out his knee on television, on TBS actually, in a match against Sam Houston in a rematch for the title, and he's gone for like 8 months, which is crazy. But yeah, down in my notes that it was a slow, typical babyface versus mega heel who tries to overpower the babyface, who's faster than him, but gets the win by cheating. Of course, very cut and dry. Nick, I don't know what your rating for the match is, but I gave it 2.25 stars. What about you?
I would agree with that. I think 2.25 stars is a pretty appropriate rating for this. And it's not that it was like a bad match by any means, but
no. But the rest holds, like,
yeah,
rest holds. They went to like Houston did a headlock, and then Khrushchev had Houston had the arm lock, and then Khrushchev had the headlock, and they were in for like a good minute and a half, and it really slowed down the match. But when it was cooking, because Houston with his drop kicks and off the top rope and misses the splash, like, you know, it was a good match, but it was bogged down by those rest holds.
Right, and I think too, this is also a product of Sam Houston being a younger wrestler, because he was only, I think, looking at right now, like 4 years into his wrestling career, and he's only like 22 at this point. So
yeah,
you know, you could definitely tell there were some parts where it felt like he kind of was like a deer in the headlights and got lost during the match.
Yep. Yeah,
Barry Darsow has to kind of come in and save him, which it works out because he's the small guy up against the big monster. But it felt too like there were certain parts where they were kind of just repeating the flow of what you'd see in that type of like a generic like big man, small man match. But all in all, I thought it was a decent opener.
Yeah. So on to our next match, we had the Raging Bull Manny Fernandez versus Abdullah the Butcher in a Mexican death match, but it's also a sombrero on a pole match, which seems very racist.
Oh, it is very racist. I mean, think about, again, they're calling this. This is not us saying this, so preface that. Remember, the forearm that Manny Fernandez does, the flying forearm, is called the Flying Burrito.
The Flying Burrito. So I just want to let everybody know at home, and you, Nick, I don't think I told you this. I went into this show blind. Like, usually I like to do a little bit of research and see who won and stuff like that. But I've noticed that, like, with Halloween Havoc and stuff like that, that's fresh in my memory when we did Halloween Havoc 1998, because that was fresh in my mind. But these matches from, like, back in the past, I already have a hard time, like, getting myself to get up and watch these matches, because I'm like, oh, man. You know, with Will Ospreay being how he is today, and then seeing somebody like Crusher Khrushchev, who's just prodding around the ring, you know, there's a huge disconnect between 2025 and 1985, and of course there should be, because it's 40 fucking years. But I find myself now watch it more if I go in blind. So when Manny Fernandez came out, and then I saw Abdullah the Butcher, I went, what the fuck? Abdullah the Butcher? 1985 NWA? Oh my God. Shouldn't he be over in Japan getting fire blown into his face, you know? But, so I go, apparently, so this is my live reaction note. So apparently this is no disqualifications, no pinfalls. The only way to win the match is to climb the rope and grab the sombrero. What the fuck?
Nothing racist about that at all.
Yeah. So I have some pretty detailed notes about this, but I'll try to keep it short. Abdullah starts off the match by being an absolute bully and beating the shit out of Fernandez. Headbutt by Manny, he's busted open already. Abdullah pulls out a gimmick and brains Manny in the head with it. We're about 40 seconds in. He goes to the outside and grabs a ring bell hammer and smashes it into Manny's head. We're 1 minute into the match. Manny starts hammering back on Abdullah, kicking him in the stomach, punches to the head. And Manny Fernandez monkey flips Abdullah the Butcher.
I've never seen Abdullah like in midair before. That was nuts.
It was crazy. He got great height on it, and it looked like Abdullah jumped for it, which is crazy because Abdullah's not really one for helping his opponent out,
Right.
But that was great. It says Paul Jones tries to get into the ring, and the referee is trying to stop him, which I don't understand because it's a no disqualification match. Manny takes off his boot, and here is when it really picks up. He smashes Abdullah in the head. Butcher takes a big bump. Crowd is going crazy for Manny. He hits Abdullah in the head with the boot. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots, and Abdullah seizure selling in the ring big time. Manny goes to the well one too many times and tries to hit Butcher in the head off the top rope with the boot, but gets elbowed in the stomach and goes down. Paul Jones on the outside screaming, "The hat! Go for the hat!" very loudly. Abdullah, who was apparently listening, goes to grab the hat, but Fernandez hits Abdullah with a low blow, and he takes a big bump off the second rope. Paul Jones is irate on the outside and jumps up on the ring apron. The referee's trying to get him down again. And even Tony Schiavone goes, "Why is the referee doing this? There's no disqualification."
Oh man!
But Tony says the referee's only job here is to declare a winner. Manny with more shots to the back of Abdullah's head with the cowboy boot. Manny goes for the hat, but gets a boot in his back for his trouble. He goes flying off the top rope to the canvas. Manny is really trying to break the Muta scale with this Crimson Mask in this match. It's crazy how much he's bleeding. Abdullah goes for the hat, but Manny takes off his belt and he gives Butcher a lashing on his back. Manny takes the belt and wraps it around his fist and punches Abdullah in the head several times. And Abdullah now is busted open. Butcher with a huge kick to the stomach that sends Manny down in a heap. Abdullah is now bleeding just as bad as Manny. Manny Fernandez then hits a phenomenal suplex on Abdullah for a double down. This is twice in this match, Nick, that Abdullah has gone airborne.
Yeah, you barely see anything like that like in the years following. So this match just felt like such an anomaly.
Yeah. Manny goes to the top rope and hits a flying shoulder tackle clothesline combination. He then runs off the ropes and does a flying forearm. And this is where Tony Schiavone goes, "He calls that move the flying burrito." And I just went, holy shit, Tony. Don't let anybody see this in 2025, Tony.
Things that cannot be said nowadays.
Yeah. Manny heading up for the hat, but as he's reaching for it, Abdullah pulls the gimmick out of his trunks again and stabs Manny Fernandez right in his dick, balls, and asshole. And Manny goes down in a heap, and he is holding his crotch. Abdullah now with the modified chokehold. Kind of looks like the one that Braun Strowman used to do, where he just grabs you and just twists you. Irish whip, and he goes for a clothesline. Manny ducks and hits him with the flying burrito again. Which is very racist for 1985, I put again. Manny then climbs to the second rope and hits another flying clothesline. I'm not going to say the name again. For yet another double down. He gets up to the top rope. He goes for a giant flying splash, but Abdullah is 3/4 of the way across the ring and misses it badly. Abdullah throws Manny into the corner. He goes for a spear, but ends up going shoulder first into the ring post. Manny climbs up on Abdullah's back and grabs a sombrero and wins this awesome match.
Yeah, this match had no business being as good as it was. It bears noting too that this is the first match taking place at the Omni, with the previous match being at Greensboro, and
they got the better match.
Oh, absolutely! When opening match like this match, I think also it sets the tone for what the rest of the night has to offer because of just the sheer bloodshed. And I'm thinking, like we mentioned, I was not expecting Abdullah the Butcher to go flying
400 pounds of meat.
Like, he's huge, and I don't think enough people talk about also just the sheer strength that Manny Fernandez has. He's the Raging Bull for a reason, and this definitely was so reminiscent of like a Puerto Rican death match going on. With just how much violence there was in there. And again, I'm thinking about the guys in there. Huge shout out to both of these guys for going all in. I definitely think they wanted to prove something, because they looked at the ridiculous gimmicks that they were given to start this match off, and then the fact that they're opening the show. I think they both went in here with wanting to prove something, and Yeah, I wasn't expecting to enjoy this match as much as I did, and you never
Yep.
expect to enjoy a match featuring Abdullah the Butcher,
Yep.
but unless you're looking for bloodshed, which is totally
Yeah.
fine, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
this match, I'm going to give this like a solid like 3.5 stars out of 5. This was unnecessarily great and very
Yeah,
fun
so-
to watch. A hidden gem.
Yeah, so my live notes was, man, I went into the show blind not knowing any of these matches, and this is a hidden gem that completely blew me away. Great stuff here. Abdullah's selling was second to none, but Abdullah has always been a master at selling. I said, did not expect to see this much blood in 1985. Also, did not expect to see Abdullah the Butcher take flight.
Mm-hmm.
I go, my personal rating was 3 1/4 stars. So we were right on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Solid match.
Yeah. So we go to the back, and Crusher Khrushchev is backstage with Johnny Weaver holding the Mid-Atlantic heavyweight title menacingly. He says in a very Minnesota accent, right now I'm the happiest man in the world, and I have to say this. To my friends who helped me get here, Nikita and Ivan Koloff, they made me the man that I am today, a Russian athlete. I know my motherland, Russia, is proud of me. At this point, Johnny Weaver's looking over at him like he's fucking crazy.
Right.
He says, I know I will be able to go anywhere in this world, any country, against anybody to defend this title against the American people that hate Russia so much. Russia has the superior athletes, and I proved that tonight, and I will keep this belt. He says that Ivan and Nikita are going to keep their belts against the Rock and Roll Express. And then I put, Khrushchev would only hold this title for a month and a half after he was severely injured in a rematch against Sam Houston on TBS. It was a knee injury. Houston would win the match to become the new champ on January 11th, 1986. Khrushchev would miss the next 6.5 months of in-ring action with that knee injury.
And I feel like too, this promo just like it kept going on and on.
Dude, it would not stop.
And Johnny Weaver would talk, and then Crusher Khrushchev would pick back up.
Dude, but Johnny Weaver's like facial expressions during this, when he's saying like, "Oh, my mother Russia," while he's sitting there talking like Jesse Ventura, is just awesome, dude. It's so great. I love
Johnny Weaver, who is also an occasional wrestler around this time period. I mean, he's not on the tail end of his career. I mean, he might be on the tail end of his career, but you'll still occasionally see him wrestling in different matches up to this point.
Yeah. Say about that very Russian interview, Nick?
It's truly one of the Russian interviews, but yeah, at this point, I think it's fun because we think about the Russians with their Russian chain matches, and of course, you think of Texans with their Texas bull rope matches.
Oh yes, and here we go. So now we have a Texas bull rope match with Cowboy Ron Bass. He's not quite the outlaw yet. Versus Black Bart. If Ron Bass wins the match, he gets J.J. Dillon for 5 minutes in another Texas bull rope match. Ron
gets
Bass
him for 5 minutes in a match, right? Right.
Ron Bass makes his way out to the ring first, looking like Stan Hansen.
Yeah, he was the Larry right there.
Yeah, Black looks like Bray Wyatt dressed up as a cowboy.
Honestly.
Dude, that is Stan Hansen versus fucking Bo Dallas.
The Wyndhams and the Hansons are fighting.
So, I got to be completely transparent with you and the listening and watching audience, Nick. I gave up halfway through this match. So here are my real-time notes. Immediately, Bass goes to the head of the Bart with the cowbell, and Bart is immediately cut open ear to ear, which is the second match in a row now where we have blood. Chokes him with the cowbell, continues to punch Bart in the head over and over again with the cowbell, it egregiously like 10 times in a row. He puts the bell on the turnbuckle and smashes Bart's face into it. Bass mauling Bart with the bell. And then I have to be completely honest. This match was slow prodding and was just two guys beating the shit out of each other with a cowbell. Sounds awesome? Well, Ron Bass and Black Bart made it not awesome. Bass ends up winning the match and gets 5 minutes with J.J. Dillon. The match with Dillon starts off with Bass beating the shit out of J.J. Dillon. Bart gets in the ring after Bass accidentally hits the referee with the cowbell and gives him the pile driver, and J.J. Dillon covers for the win. Typical heel stuff here. you know that they're not going to give you everything that you want with this J.J. Dillon match versus Cowboy Ron Bass. I feel like, I know this because I didn't watch any shows leading up, but I feel like there'd be more to this story. I didn't really look into it, but J.J. Dillon was kind of a wrestler around this point. Like, he did some, like, comedy matches,
Right.
He'd be the third man in a 6-man match, like a manager match. But Dillon got busted open in this, and he was bleeding from the head after a couple of cowbell shots. But like I said, referee accidentally gets knocked down. Bart gets in the ring and hits JJ with a pile driver, and JJ covers to win. So, Nick, did you like me think like, man, Texas bull rope match, this is going to be awesome, and then it was just two guys lazily hitting each other with the bell for 6 minutes?
Right. Like, I mentioned this in our WCW group chat. I am such a fan of having those like Old West style brawlers and Southern wrestling brawlers that, would go into a match like a Black Bart or a Cowboy Ron Bass. But in this instance, man, I don't know what it was. Like, it wasn't clicking. And you'd think there'd be at least some level of real like chemistry between these two guys, because this match comes up from the fact they were a team together.
Yeah.
And then they've separated, and it just didn't feel like there really was much to this. And honestly, I'm gonna say I had much more fun with Ron Bass and JJ Dillon than I did with Black Bart and Ron Bass. I thought,
well, because I think there's something to say. I think there's something fun about watching a manager get his comeuppance.
Absolutely.
So I gave this match, I gave it a 1.75 stars. I mean, it was just two guys hitting each other with a bell. There really wasn't a lot of psychology. And I know when you say a Texas bull rope match, there's not supposed to be a lot of psychology, but maybe some.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this 1.75 stars, and 1.5 stars of that 1.75 stars is just for JJ Dillon and Ron Bass.
Hey, you know what, Nick? That's absolutely fair. So I think we said what we needed to say. So should we
back
move
to
on?
the Omni?
Back to the Omni. So Billy Graham, who had everything stolen from him by Hulk Hogan, beats the Barbarian.
Not the fancy restaurant in the mall, brother.
Yeah. You never had Poshmania running through your brain, dude. So Billy Graham, who had everything stolen from him by Hulk Hogan, beats the Barbarian in a very uneventful worked arm wrestling match. After Graham gets the win, Paul Jones, dude, I got to tell you, Nick, and we said this right before the show, Paul Jones gets in the ring after this match as Billy Graham, Barbarian's hand his hand is still in Barbarian. Paul Jones has this walking stick that's like a kendo bamboo stick or something.
Yeah.
And he just winds back and he smashes superstar Billy Graham in the face with this stick so fucking hard that I was in my car at work after work and went, oh shit, and jumped back. Because this bus Billy Graham opened, and this is the third match that we have with blood.
Man,
it was
something.
Dude, it was I know I keep saying this, but it was egregious. That shot, something had to be said when they got back to the locker room.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it was hard. Yeah. So
bear in mind too, this is like old man Billy Graham as well. Like, he's not just a young guy that's going to take everything. Prime. Exactly.
Yeah. After Graham gets the win, Paul Jones absolutely waffles Graham with his cane, signifying the beginning of this match. Graham is being worked over Barbarian and is busted open from the cane shot by Jones. And I should point out that this is the third match in the row that there's been a significant amount of blood on the wrestlers. Typical big man match here. Barbarian goes for a splash and misses. Superstar with a bear hug as Paul Jones flips the fuck out on the outside. Jones gets in the ring as Barbarian is about to pass out and hits Graham again in the back with his cane for the DQ. Billy shakes it off and hits Jones with the cane in his throat. Brutal spot here. I'm sure that was a receipt from the first shot. He tries to do more, but is hit so hard in the back of his head by the Barbarian, he flies through the middle rope and out to the floor. Barbarian jumps Graham and beats his ass on the outside. They fight into the crowd, and the referee raises Superstar's hand in victory. We never got an official announcement, but it looks like Paul Jones caused the DQ. This wasn't brutal to watch. It was actually fun watching two semi-trucks slam into each other. But there was no real reason for Graham to get any color in this match since it was going to end after 3 minutes in a DQ. Between the arm wrestling contest and the actual bout, this thing went maybe about 4.5 minutes. Didn't have any theatrics at all. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. I like seeing Billy Graham and the Barbarians. Always fun to watch, even though our WCW Trios champion Rob made it very clear last night in the group text around 2 a.m. that he did not like the Barbarian.
Don't let Barbarian hear you say that, Robbie.
So what were your thoughts on this match, Nick? The arm wrestling, and then the worked arm wrestling match, and then the very worked wrestling match.
It was interesting because it felt like we're kind of doing the inverse of the previous one with the bull ropes and the manager involvement. And, you know, just looking at this visual, like you got two of the most jacked wrestlers around in an arm wrestling match. So I won't lie, just from the standpoint of seeing just two absolute mammoths going at it in an arm wrestling, I was legitimately curious who was going to win that, you know, very much worked arm wrestling, but still, I was curious on a legitimate standpoint. Unlike Robbie, I personally absolutely love Barbarian, and
you've said that in the past too.
Of course, Barbarian. If you are watching it, I love you. Don't hurt me, hurt Robbie. Barbarian's awesome, and I think too, this is around the time that Superstar Billy Graham ditched the karate gimmick as well, so he's back to the tie-dye and everything. And Barbarian's, gosh, I think when I checked, he started around like 1981, so he's only like 4 years into his career, and yeah, he already feels like the Barbarian that we're going to be watching for the next 10 years following this. And
up to like 97, 98,
yeah, so like, gosh, like the next like 13 years following this, it feels like he's already kind of found the pieces and put them together. And, you know, we talked about that when we watched Sting versus Butch Reed in a few years' time. You know, we see Sting only a couple years into his career, and he's still trying to put the pieces together. I feel like Barbarian has roughly done that. And, you know, I think also it just goes to show that you've got that element of him having the benefit of a Paul Jones and Paul Jones' army at this point in time. And again, you know, the parallels to the Texas Bull Rope match, because remember too, Superstar Billy Graham was also roughly associated with the Paul Jones army up to the point when he broke up with them. So, you know, you've also got that aspect of the tag team breaking up. But match itself, I didn't really care for that with as much fun as I had with the arm wrestling match. Again, it was just fun to see just two tanks going at it. Because even though, you know, he's an older guy, I mean, look at that arm, look at that bicep.
He's in great shape, man. He's past his prime, but he's in great shape.
Absolutely,
Billy Graham.
Precisely. And I thought this match was fun for what it was. It wasn't going to be like, you know, a 5-star banger with lots of flips going on, but, you know, for just two bulls going at it, I enjoyed it. I'll give it a solid 1.5 stars. No, I'll give it 2 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, it's always fun watching two, you know, just trucks like run into each other, like I said, you know, but it's clear that Superstar Billy Graham that much. Like, all he did was like the bear hug and a scoop slam, and then got absolutely bombarded in the back of his head, and then they went outside and fought. Like, I wish that some wrestlers, like, kind of like Billy Graham, just knew when their time was like drawing near, and if they didn't want to leave, like, dude, do concession stand brawls. Like, the brawl outside with Barbarian wasn't bad. Like, they were throwing chairs at each other and throwing each other into chairs. Like, that's what guys need to do. Like, if you want to mask the fact that you can't move anymore, dude, just do brawls. Who gives a shit?
Exactly. Or even like case in point at the start, arm wrestling. It played to the strengths.
Yeah, it was great. Well, not great, but it was great for Billy Graham because it was clear that he couldn't do anything else but that. So yeah, absolutely. But so now we actually have a really great match.
Truly,
Terry Taylor versus Buddy Landell with J.J. Dillon for the NWA National Championship. Now, Nick, was this belt vacant?
Or
or was that the Mid-Atlantic for Houston and
Yeah,
Khrushchev?
it was the Mid Atlantic was vacant. This
Oh,
one, I believe, was Terry
because I
Taylor
believe
going
Terry
into
Taylor has it.
it. Yeah,
Okay, all right. So yeah, Terry Taylor versus Buddy Landel for the NWA National Championship. The Nature Boy, Buddy Landel.
they were really doing something having two Nature Boys on the roster at the
Yeah,
same
I
time.
know. Yeah. I said, man, Landel looks and moves just like Flair in this match. Terry Taylor is in tremendous shape. Yeah, look at that. That just looks like Ric Flair.
Like, if you are just looking really quick, that is legit. It looks like Ric Flair.
Yeah. I said, Terry Taylor is in tremendous shape and looks like somebody that you want to have dye their hair red, spike it up, and call himself a cock. Landel tries to play around with Taylor, but Taylor slaps the absolute dog shit out of him. A bunch of hard chops and punches, and it's really nice to see technical wrestling match after 3 bloody wars.
Yeah,
In the past matches, you can see that Landel took a lot of his movements from Flair, especially the punches that he throws in the corner. J.J. Dillon is Buddy Landel's manager, but he doesn't come out with him. He comes about maybe a third of the way through the match wearing a bandage around his head from being cut open in the bull rope match with Cowboy Ron Bass.
completely selling it too.
Oh, yeah. Very forearm and heavy match here. Huge clothesline gets a 2 by Landel and Terry Taylor. Camel clutch by Landel. We slow it down for a little bit, but not much. Taylor fights up, and Buddy takes a bottom rope right to his eyes. Suplex by Taylor gets 2. Tony says that Terry Taylor's finishing move is the superplex that no one gets up from. In 2025, that is a mid-match move. Landel pushes Taylor down into the referee as he tries to get him up on the top rope. The referee gets up, but Landel pushes Taylor into him again. Landel tries to Irish whip Taylor into J.J. Dillon, but Taylor reverses it, and Landel goes flying into Dillon, who goes into the guardrail on the outside. Taylor puts Landel up to the top rope and goes for the superplex, but Dillon pulls Taylor's leg, and Landel falls on top of him for the win. And Buddy Landel is the new NWA National Champion. The crowd is throwing stuff into the ring as he celebrates with Dillon and struts his stuff. My personal, on-the-spot thing was hard to rate this, but it was physical. Loved how both men laid it in, didn't hold back. I gave it 3.25 stars, Nick. I really enjoyed this because, like me, I know that you do love, bloody wars, guys beating the shit out of each other, grudge matches. But man, it was such a breath of fresh air to see like a technical, hard-hitting match without blood, but still, it didn't tear the roof off of the place because, I think putting a match like that after 3 bloody wars is kind of like, oh, well, we want to see more bloody stuff. But man, I love this. I loved how, dude, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound crazy, Nick. Okay, this is going to sound like I need to be put in a jacket where the sleeves don't end. Okay, but
I am wearing a Pasta Mania tank, so you can't get crazier than that.
But Buddy Landel wrestling like Ric Flair, chopped harder than Flair. He threw forearms harder than Flair.
No, he did.
Objectively, that was a better professional wrestler than Ric Flair, especially in this match, because Ric Flair wrestled the Ric Flair match, but Buddy Landel took Ric Flair's whole gimmick here and added a lot of intensity to it, added a lot of, let's say flair, huggle. Yeah. Woo. And it was like watching Ric Flair if Ric Flair had gone and done like a 3-month Japan run and come back. Like, he was laying in these punches, laying in these forearms. At one point, Taylor's down. He takes his leg and does like the thigh elbow drop. But dude, he laid it in and then just grinded his elbow into like Taylor's like thigh. I was like, oh my god, dude, this dude is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen. I'm going to walk it back a little bit. I'm not going to say he's a better wrestler than Ric Flair. But if Ric Flair had wrestled this match against Terry Taylor, I think I would have liked it a lot less. That's what I'll say.
I think most people wouldn't have wanted to see Flair and Taylor anyways on this show.
No. No.
You know what? I really enjoyed both guys going into it, which is wild because I think on paper, when you see Terry Taylor and Buddy Landell on the card against one another, you're not really thinking it's all that great. But you know what? I think judging a book by its cover is such a mistake because, hey, we enjoyed Manny Fernandez and Abdullah the Butcher earlier in the night. So you know what?
We
This
did.
match absolutely killed it. I have to agree with what did you say, 3.25 with this one? Or
I said 3.25. Yeah.
I have to agree with that. This match was absolutely solid, and it was nice to have a break from just all of the bloodshed because I enjoyed it as much as the next guy, but I just can't have it for every single match. And
Yeah.
I think for what it was, both of these guys delivered. Both guys, very earlier on into their wrestling careers, and I think everyone looks at that really random Buddy Landell run in WWF in 1995 before he slips and falls on ice. How it was like, why are they even giving Buddy Landell a chance? But honestly, I could see them wanting this Buddy Landell in
Yeah.
that point in time in the WWF. So absolutely awesome to see him actually, like you said, he's putting in the work and he is putting in those hits and those shots. It was absolutely fun to see. And Terry Taylor is very much another, just like Sam Houston earlier in the night. The ladies loved him in the crowd, and
Yep.
it was a fun combination with these two guys. And I really like these two guys working together. And all in all, you know what? I thought this was a fun match. And like Max said, 3.25 stars for me.
Yeah. So next up is the NWA National Tag Team Championship match with Ole and Arn Anderson defending their titles against Wahoo McDaniels and Billy Jack Haynes. That's a crazy sentence.
Honestly, there's a lot happening there.
So to start off the match, we get some back and forth. There's a fun little spot where Arn takes a leapfrog and gives the camera the finger guns gesture before turning around and getting press slammed by Haynes, which I enjoyed because I love Arn doing silly shit because he's the serious. Well, Ole's more serious, but Arn is pretty serious himself.
Also, can we appreciate Billy Jack Haynes' attire is like NWA USA?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, it's like the attire that you put on a creative wrestler after you've got done doing the moves and like making his face, and you just don't want to deal with the attire anymore.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take these generic boots. I'll just pop on the logo. Boom, we're done.
Yeah. Slammed by Haynes, he tags out to Ole, who gets into a shoving match with Haynes before getting punched down hard to the mat. Wahoo comes in and starts beating on him, so he tags back to Arn. The Andersons take control and start getting heat on Wahoo. The Andersons take turns working on Wahoo's arm, and the commentators say said it's to take away the chop, which is very smart. Haynes does a great job on the outside and is firing up while the Andersons keep the fresh man at bay. Arn and Ole are tagging out frequently, which is very smart, keeping the fresh man in the ring. Wahoo manages eventually to fight and rolls to his corner for a tag. Big hot tag, and Billy is in like a house of fire and hits a double noggin knocker. Wahoo comes back in and hits the tomahawk chop, but Ole breaks up the count at 2. The end comes when Ole trips Wahoo up a couple of times and holds the foot while Arn makes the pin for a 3 count. Match really never lost my attention, but I feel like if it went on a little longer, it might have. And I liked what I saw. Even though it was short, it was good. Arn Anderson is always money to me. Ole always looks like an asshole, which is probably very on point for his character because he was an asshole.
And I'm sure he appreciates that compliment as well.
And seeing Arn Anderson in the ring, knowing that he's only going to have another 10 years, is something special to watch because Arn was one of those guys that if he didn't hurt his neck in 1996 could have well wrestled into the 2000s, I think, right. But I gave this match 2.75 stars. What were your thoughts on it?
I was excited because I do really appreciate the Minnesota Wrecking Crew of the Andersons. Both guys worked phenomenal in this match. I mean, they felt like they are just trying their hardest to utilize any tag team strategy, which, again, when you're watching it, it absolutely makes sense that you just try to go by all means and win the match. Ole's not always the most entertaining and engaging to watch. And when it came down to the more like technical aspects of the match, I feel like Arn Anderson was the saving grace for this match, which
Absolutely.
all things considered, because I mean, when you look at the guys in there, I know due to some modern recent events and actions, it's always hard to look at Billy Jack Haynes stuff. But Billy Jack Haynes and Wahoo McDaniel, I think they had Billy Jack's got the look, Wahoo's got the experience going in here. There's always something about Wahoo in this era that it was just like, wow, he's he's still around and he's still doing things there. But it was never like he was ever 100% unwatchable either. It was just one of those things where it just felt very mediocre when there was a Wahoo McDaniel match going on. And the match itself wasn't like the greatest, but it also wasn't terrible. And again, I will put a lot of kudos and a lot of the saving grace there to Arn Anderson. But what else is new, right? And so I'm going to give this match 2.5 stars. Wasn't terrible, but also wasn't the greatest either, but solid. And again, a huge shout out to Arn Anderson.
Yeah. So we go backstage, and there's an interview segment with J.J. Dillon and Buddy Landel.
Buddy Landel looks
Weaver
so cool.
Looks cool here. Like, look at J.J. Dillon. Like, look at his posture. Look at the thing on his head. Buddy Landel looks awesome. Yeah, everybody just looks great here. It's very 1985.
Yeah.
I could see them sitting on a plastic covered couch watching Murder, She Wrote.
In a very yellow-brown room.
Oh, yeah, very yellow-brown room. Some cigarette stains on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
So, Weaver says that both men had big victories tonight. Dillon says it's the greatest night of his career. He says that he thought Bart would win, but he didn't, and he took a beating from Bass and hopes that he will never take again. JJ then talks about his win and calls himself the uncrowned bull rope heavyweight champion of the world. Buddy talks next and says that JJ turned his career around. He says he's been studying Blanchard, Flair, and the Andersons and models his career after every single one of them. But he says that everyone can run their mouth, but now that he has the belt, he can look at himself in the mirror and call himself the champion. Which is crazy because J.J. Dillon is about to leave his ass in like a month and a half and join the Four Horsemen. So, Nick, I think this is what we've all been waiting for.
Speaking of the Horsemen,
this is what we've all been waiting for. So my notes, my live notes say, what were you going to say? Sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is the whole reason we were even doing the show on Starrcade 85 was we were just talking about how great this match was.
Yeah. So my live note says, here it is, ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest professional wrestling matches of all time, any era, any decade, any century, as Magnum TA takes on the NWA United States Heavyweight Champion Tully Blanchard in an I Quit steel cage match. I said, holy shit, here we go.
Yeah.
On network, Magnum is already in the ring, which bugged me because I wanted to see the reaction he got when he came out. Tully comes out with Baby Doll to a very smoky entrance and a shitty dubbed over theme.
Of course.
I said the match starts out with a power struggle that takes both men to the mat where they scratch and claw for control. They end up punching it out and Magnum gets the upper hand. Tully takes control and slams Magnum's head into the cage and comes up with 2 cuts along his forehead. Tully gets the mic and asks Magnum if he quit. The two fight back and forth after Tully says no. And now Tully is bleeding from his arm after Magnum throws him twice, arm first, into the cage. Magnum rips at the cut and even at one point bites at it. And Tully yells, oh shit, after Magnum spends about 10 seconds biting the cut and he gets bleeped out on the network. Tully starts hitting Magnum in the head with the mic, which makes a great sound over the speakers.
Yeah.
And what is the only slip up of the match, Tully goes for a cover for just a second, but remembers that it's an I Quit match. The two men fight back and forth and scream hell no into the microphone when asking the latter if they want to quit. Tully becomes frustrated and pushes the referee down. Baby Doll takes the opening to chuck a wooden chair over the ring, which I don't know why the referee had to be down for that because it's a no disqualification match. Tully smashes the chair on the ring and it breaks. He grabs a chunk of the wood or the wreckage and tries to stab Magnum in directly into the forehead with it. There's a great struggle and Tully comes perilously close to stabbing Magnum, but Magnum knees him in the kidneys a couple of times. Magnum then takes the wooden spike and actually does stab Tully in the forehead with it. Magnum goes to jam the wood into Tully's eyebrow and he's grinding it. He asks Tully if he quit. He says no and grinds it into his face again. He asked him if he quit, and Telly screamed, "Yes, yes, yes," over and over again. And we have a new NWA United States champion. And my live notes say, I mean, man, what can I say that hasn't been said about this match a million times? I love it so much. Both men were at their peak, and everything that they did worked beautifully. Um, there's been a thing running on Twitter lately about wrestling soulmates, and I think that Tully and Magnum definitely qualify for one of those. Tully's selling in this match was top tier, and both of these men deserve 100% of the credit. One of the most brutal, violent matches in the history of professional wrestling. Definitely in the top 50 matches of all time, and it's not number 50 or 40. I go, personal rating.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Please,
like,
Nick, give me your thoughts on this. Please. I've been waiting for it, baby.
Listen, like, Greensboro Coliseum was eating really good because this is the match that, you know, is coming right after for them after Buddy Landell and Terry Taylor. And you know, it's the first of two steel cage matches, but honestly, this should have been their main event. I mean, I understand I wanted too close to Dusty and Flair, but I feel like this match is just so, it's so good, it's so iconic, and there's so many reasons for that. You know, like you said, Mac, you know, they are basically, it feels like they are wrestling soulmates. If you think about how linked those two guys are together, I mean, you know, I don't think Magnum TA gets enough credit for being one of those guys who fought against the Four Horsemen for, you know, even though it was relatively a shorter time due to his accident, it was still so notable from how early on it was. And, you know, getting one of the championships away from those members of the Four Horsemen, that was, you know, not something to, you know, to just have like as a meaningless like throwaway, because Flair still is the world heavyweight champion, and then we just talked about the Minnesota Wrecking Crew with the national tag team titles. So Magnum was the first guy to be able to truly get one of those championships away from the Horsemen, which I think is a huge point a lot of people don't talk about at all. And I think too, I mentioned when we went over Flair and Steamboat from Chi-Town Rumble, how that's one of, I would say, probably one of maybe 5 matches that if you're training to be a wrestler and if you have your own wrestling school, like, make sure your students watch Flair and Steamboat. I think this is another match that you want to make sure that your students see, that if you are training to wrestle, this is a match that shows you the right way to do so much when it comes to either the death match style or, you know, a stipulation from within a cage, or using chairs, or in the I Quit match aspect of it all. And there's just so many different like layers to this match, and I could just go on and on about how great this was overall. I mean, again, this is the match that made us want to cover Starrcade 85.
Nick, would you go as far as saying that this is one of the matches that put NWA on the map?
I would say so, absolutely. And I think not even just NWA, but I think this is also the match that cemented Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA in as just some of the top guys to watch. And I think without this match, I don't know if necessarily, Tully would have still had, you know, a lot of great association with the Horsemen. You know, everyone would have seen Magnum as being, you know, the next top guy coming up. But this match just made both of these guys, and I think this is also a prime example of, even though Tully Blanchard gave up and basically said that he quit to Magnum TA, both guys still look so tough. And it's the realism aspect of this match that truly takes the cake, because you legitimately are watching this thinking these guys are trying to kill each other. And I've almost never felt that with any like death match or cage match, except for maybe a handful. But whenever I think of a match that two guys are trying their hardest to go after one another, when I think of probably the precipice of grudge matches, this is the grudge match to me. This is the personal bitter rivalry ender. And you know,
this is the litmus test of a feud ender.
Exactly. And you know, there's still elements that they continue to pick up after this, but gosh, there's so many good things going into and out of this match, and I cannot praise this match enough. I want to say 5 stars. I'm honestly going to probably even break the scales, and I'll give this 5.5 stars. I think
there you go,
one of the all-time best matches, and you got a lot of bloody matches on the card, but everyone's watching this show for this bloody match.
Absolutely.
which says a lot when you got a main event of Dusty and Flair.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to that. I got some thoughts about that match.
Mm-hmm.
But from a 5.5 star match, we devolve all the way.
Cool down, baby.
Pit wrestling with the Atlanta Street Fight. Jimmy Valiant, Miss Atlanta Lively with Big Mama versus the Midnight Express with their manager Jim Cornette. Now, for people who are not familiar with Miss Atlanta Lively, it is Ronnie Garvin in drag. I'm glad you put that up right when I said it. That's like a Pastamania moment for me.
Hands of stone, dude.
Yeah. I'm going to become the champion, but no one's going to remember, brother.
The match is already bad enough because you have Ronnie Garvin in it.
So let's get this over with. So the match starts with Lively spraying powder in Eaton's eyes. Bobby eating the cookies, by the way. With Valiant and Dennis Condrey fighting on the outside. Condrey is busted open by a chair, which I think is just not needed in this match. Garvin's wig keeps coming off and he keeps trying to fix it. Valiant launches Eaton a good 10 feet across the floor, which was pretty impressive as they fight in the crowd. He manages to fight back into the ring, but the Express get whipped into each other and Eaton is back on the floor. Eventually, the Express take control with some of their own powder, and Dennis busts open Valiant hard way with his belt. Then they tried to pants Lively, but thankfully Garvin, who is Miss Atlanta Lively, is wearing pantyhose underneath. Valiant starts trying to rip off the Express's tuxedos. Now, when they came into this match, they were all wearing tuxedos. I was like, is this a fucking tuxedo match? But no, it wasn't.
Yeah, they go into I think, wasn't it announced as like a tag team street fight?
Yeah. And I'm like, why are these guys all coming to the ring wearing... I was just like, oh, God. So, managed to miss this Valiant getting taken out on the floor. No idea what happened there. Cornette gets into the ring and nails Lively with his tennis racket, and the Express began beating him down. They bring Valiant into the ring, and Condrey holds him on the mat while Eaton goes for the Alabama Jam, but Lively catches Eaton with an uppercut as he jumps, and he pins Eaton for the 3 count. After the match, Valiant and company strip Cornette to his boxers, and the Express save him. I don't know what this was. Get Tully and Magnum back out here. This was a fucking dud. Personal rating, dud. Nick, please expound upon me your wisdom of this negative 5-star match, please.
The Omni was not eating as good as Greensboro was on this night.
No.
You know, I have a certain respect and appreciation for this match because of just, it's the literal opposite for that amazing match we had before. And it was bad, but it had its own level of campy entertainment value.
Listen,
for the 80s at least.
If this match had been positioned, let's say, like right after, let's say if this was a dark match, okay? Let's say if this was a dark match, this would have been fun. But to put it on a show where you have technical wrestling, death match wrestling, a cage death match, and then Dusty and Flair at the end, and then you have the fucking Roll Express and Ivan and Nikita Koloff coming up after this, it's like this should have been left off the card. It was campy, it was fun, compared to everything on this show.
And bear in mind, for the people at the Omni, this is the match that's on right before Dusty and Flair.
Yeah, dude. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Nothing better to sandwich between 2 horsemen matches than this tag team street fight. I feel so bad that like Bobby Eaton was stuck with this, and Dennis Condrey too.
Dude, Bobby Eaton is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah,
and he does not deserve to be saddled down. I wanted to see the Midnight Express. God damn it! I didn't want to see them like this.
And yeah, it was nice to be able to see Bobby Eaton and the Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey version of the Midnight Express. I just feel bad that this is the match that we had to see them in, and against Jimmy Valiant and freaking Ronnie Garvin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also will give this what it did for being a kind of cool down following that incredible death match we had right before this.
Yep.
I think it and they tried to make it entertaining. You know, you had like Eden and Cornette working their hardest to make this work.
Yeah.
I'll give it 1 star.
That's fair enough. So, Nick, getting off of that awfulness, so you were talking about Magnum TA possibly being the next guy up. I think when we go back to the to Johnny Weaver with Magnum TA here, they're definitely like right off the rip setting up that he's going to be the one to dethrone Flair eventually. I mean, I know Dusty, spoiler alert, wins the title at this show, but I think everybody knew that eventually Flair would get it back, you know. So here's what happens. We go backstage, and Magnum TA is with Johnny Weaver, who is still really bloody. He said that there's jubilation in the back because Magnum won the U.S. title. Weaver asks Magnum how he's feeling. Magnum says that the belt is back where it belongs. He says that it should have never came down to an I Quit match, but that's what it took to get the belt back, and that's what it took. Now things will start all over again. He says that the United States Heavyweight Championship is the most prestigious title, bar none, except for the world title. He says that he's not going to put the title in a closet. He's not going to lock it away in a cabinet. Magnum name drops Nikita, Landell, Arn Anderson as possible opponents, and that he is going to be a fighting champion, that he's not going to back down from anybody. He says that he went through a battle of his life and probably left a part of himself in that ring tonight with Tully, but that he'll never get back, but he's happy about the result. Magnum then finishes by saying that if anyone wants to take the belt off him, step right up because he's not a hard man to find. Dude, this promo, I was like, yeah! And then I remembered that he crashes a motorcycle, and I went, no!
Right, because that injury happens like right before, I think, next year's Starrcade.
Yeah, it's literally 11 months after this.
Yeah, that it's just wild to think about, you know, what could have been. And, you know, I was just rolling through here on like what that kind of last 11 months looked like, and you know he's got some major rivalries. You know, he's got his legendary feud with Nikita Koloff following this.
Of course, best of 7, right?
Best of 7, exactly. And he's got know another huge feud with Jam and Jimmy Garvin, and you know, and Jimmy Garvin in fact becomes his final opponent as a wrestler. And you know, there's so many things there. You know, he crushes the Mulkeys, as everyone did on the roster at this point in time, and he truly was a fighting champion too. Because you know, look, he's got all these different defenses, and he's joining up, and it's the coolest thing. Him joining up alongside the Road Warriors to take on the Horsemen and the Russians, like it's awesome to see him as like one of the guys that's standing his ground, and you could tell they were absolutely building up for him and Flair eventually to tangle for the title. And it's just so unfortunate that, you know, Magnum TA's case is one of those of trying to think about, you know, where he will go from here. And it's a shame, because again, you know, the reaction he got, how great he was in the ring. I mean, you know, if you watch any of those episodes of World Championship Wrestling, you know, or Mid-Atlantic, you know, he, even his squash matches, still looked phenomenal. And he could go, like we saw with the Tully Blanchard match earlier, he could go for a long time as well, just like a Flair. So if anyone would have been, you know, the perfect guy to go head to head, it would have been him. So, and such a shame to think about what could have been.
And now, and when you look at a guy like Magnum TA, in the way that he's built, like a fucking brick shit house, he has the same build as like a Wardlow, like nowadays, you know. Right. And it's crazy because he could go 30, 25, 30 minutes and not even be winded in a match, you know. Like, look at the match that he had with Tully on this show. They went about 16 in the cage, 17, 18, maybe. I don't know. How long was that? Can you see how long that match was, Nick? The I Quit Steel Cage match, please, if you don't mind.
14 minutes and 43 seconds, according to Cage Match, which is, it felt longer, but that was a testament to them.
And after that match, he's just standing up backstage. He just went through fucking hell, and he's just standing backstage, and he's like, "Yep, I'm going to defend this title. Come and find me. I'll fight your ass in the locker room. Fuck you." You know? So, but now, Nick, before we head into the last two matches, now correct me if I'm wrong, but the Nikita Koloff, him and Nikita Koloff had a 7-match series, correct?
Yes.
And after that, gets hurt, and they turn Nikita face, and he ends up journeying with Dusty Rhodes to face the Four Horsemen, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Correct?
Exactly.
He's a mystery opponent in the cage.
Yeah,
Dusty,
because from the best of 7 series, he grew to respect Magnum TA and wanted to fight to honor him.
Yeah, there's a match I remember seeing on the WWE Network years ago where Dusty had a mystery opponent, and Nikita walks out from behind him, and the crowd's like, what the fuck is going on? And then Nikita gets in the cage and starts attacking the Four Horsemen, and it was like the Beatles had just come out on stage. The crowd just went crazy. So, yeah, I have a lot of respect for Nikita Koloff and his trajectory from being like the bad Russian to all of a sudden, I respect you, and the crowd just accepting him and being like, hey, maybe he's not a bad guy after all, you know? So that was just a little aside, but I love that 7-match series. I have that DVD, and it's just phenomenal. It's just a chef kiss of wrestling.
Yeah, and honestly, too, you know, if it's not Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard as those, you know, wrestling soulmates, it could very well be Magnum TA and Nikita Koloff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Those guys. I mean, man, I might just get off this call with you after we're done and go watch some from Magnum TA matches, man.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, just looking through a lot of the matches on here, like the roster, top to bottom, is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the NWA World Tag Team Championship Steel Cage match between the Rock and Roll Express with Don Cornudle versus the Ivan and Nikita Koloff.
Second cage match of the night with the main event for the Greensboro Coliseum.
And they're out there with the new Mid-Atlantic champion, Crusher Khrushchev, as well.
Yes.
So the Russians come to the ring with the Russian national anthem and some spooky lighting. The song almost finishes playing, but the Rock and Roll Express theme cuts it off, and they get a huge reaction. The announcers tell us that the two teams have chosen Cornudle and Crusher as their cornermen. Before the match can start, there is a loud USA chant, and Ivan tries to cover Nikita's ears for a funny moment. Nikita powers his way to the advantage to start, but the Express soon use their speed to take over the Russians. I think Caudle calls it befuddling the Russians with their speed. They gain control and slam Ivan's head into the cage until he's bleeding. They make frequent tags in and out of the ring. They're flying all around the ropes. This lasts a little bit until the Russians gain control with eye rakes, and Robert starts taking his usual beating. The Russians use frequent tags and biting until Robert is bleeding a gusher as well. Now, Nick, at this point, I'm a little confused as why Earl Hebner is enforcing the rules so strongly since it's a cage match.
I was exactly earlier with like remember the Mexican death match.
Even Tony points out that the wrestlers don't have to listen to him. Even the teams in the match forget that, and they start using ref distractions to start cheating. I'm like, you don't have to do this.
Hebner.
At one point, the Russians almost get a 3 count on Robert, but he gets his foot on the rope, which is also not a rope break because it's a steel cage match.
Right.
Yeah. Hebner ends up getting bumped and just never really stays motionless. Ricky manages to make the blind tag to Robert. Ivan gets rolled up for a quick 3 count. The match just ends just like that. Just a quick roll up. You know, what the hell happened? I'm like, I turn away from my screen. I see the hot tag, and then I see Ricky celebrating, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? After the match, the Russians quickly attack and manage to throw Ricky over the top of the cage to the floor, which was fucking crazy. They take down Cornudle as well. The Russians hit a triple team move and whip Robert with the chain until help finally arrives, and the help chases the Russians off. I'm telling you, listen, when Ricky managed to get the blind tag to Robert and Ivan got rolled up, I had to rewind, and then I rewound to about maybe 30 seconds before that, and then my phone buzzed, and I literally picked up my phone and went like this, and I looked back, and the Rock and Roll Express was celebrating again. I was like, oh, fuck, I got to rewind it again. What the fuck? It was so quick.
Man, This match was very interesting. I feel like this did not need to really be a steel cage match.
They had a regular tag match inside a steel cage.
Exactly, and that was just so weird and wonky. Like, it didn't need to be
Yeah.
this way. It was interesting to see the Russians in another match where, once again, it's a battle between strength and speed. Because that was
Yes.
exactly what the Crusher Khrushchev and the Sam Houston match
Sam
was
Houston
earlier.
was, yep.
Just now we've added a cage.
Yeah.
And Don Kernodle...
And two more guys.
and a couple more. Yeah, exactly. And Don Kernodle's presence here... it does make sense because I think the Russians, like a year or two prior to this, were taking on Don, and when Don was briefly teaming up with Sergeant Slaughter before he left. Yep. And
I think Kernodle also had a falling out with the Russians as well, didn't he?
Oh, yes. Kernodle just always had any falling outs until they brought in Rocky Kernodle, and then they had the Kernodle brothers teaming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this match was interesting. Like, wow, Rock and Roll Express. If anyone was over, it's those two guys, though. Morton and Gibson were in their just tip-top prime shape here, and everyone loved them so much. Like, yeah, this was probably one of the biggest reactions when they won. And I think it just also goes to show that the Rock and Roll Express are without a doubt one of the most beloved teams in all of the 80s and all of wrestling, honestly. And it's just so sad how we had Midnight Express right before this match in such a joke. And then we had the Rock and Roll Express here where they're getting so much love and appreciation. And just imagine if we were able to get, a Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express match here. That would have been much more fun.
Yeah. Man, like, Rock and Roll Express to that hot tag, the babyface beatdown and the Ricky hot tag to Robert for years and years and years, and it never felt stale. Because you always knew that they were going to get beat down and fight from under, and then they were going to get that hot tag, and that they were going to somehow manage to win, or they were going to get screwed out of it. But there was always going to be that hot tag in the match. And nowadays, if you did that, 80 hours of wrestling on TV a week. But back then, there really wasn't. Like, you had to go to the Greensboro Coliseum, or you had to get the VHS or whatever it was on, to actually see these matches.
Oh, Mac, kind of losing your audio there. Yeah, this definitely was a fun steel cage match. Speak, Mac. Can't hear you. Oh, Mac's gonna get himself back in here, but yeah, all in all, this was a very interesting cage match. I started hearing stuff. I personally am giving this match I give it like a 3.5 stars. This wasn't a bad match by any means, but when it came to cage matches, it just did not hold any type of a candle to the U.S. title I Quit match. Oh, we got Mac getting black screen. You there, Mac? Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, great. So would you give it, Nick, 3.5 stars? You said?
I gave this 3.5 stars. I'm glad we didn't lose you right before the main event.
I know, right? Yeah. So let me get my notes back here. So personally, that's what I gave it too. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was good, and like I was saying about the hot tag formula, it worked for the Rock and Roll Express. They were defined by it, and I don't think it ever hurt them.
No, not at all. And again, it just all of their work, even beyond just the hot tag experience, like the Rock and Roll Express, 100%. They went beyond. They are the team that so many replicate, and even a lot of modern teams probably don't even realize the influence that the Rock and Roll Express have had on them nowadays. And it's funny too, because we talked about two Nature Boys on the roster. I mean, we had two rock and roll teams. You had the Rock and Roll Express, and then earlier Don Kernodle took on one half of the Rock and Roll RPMs. So it's just kind of funny the way the NWA worked. And then you have two Garvins eventually when Jimmy Garvin makes his debut.
Yep. But so here we are. We are at the main event. We are back in Atlanta for the main event. Finally, we get a Starrcade main event without some horrible refereeing. So to start off the match, well, first of all, Dusty comes out. He's traded the sexy jazz music from last year for some generic sounding 80s rock. Psychs himself up in the entranceway before heading to the ring. Flair's out next, and for some reason, the security makes him stop just for a second halfway down the aisle. We get in the ring announcement. Dusty struts his stuff, and Flair isn't impressed. He looks disgusted. Dusty knocks Flair down, and Flair bails to the outside, then trades some strikes before Flair bails again. They go into some holds. Dusty reverses the hammerlock. Flair regains control by kicking Dusty in the ankle. Dusty has to bail out of the ring and starts to hobble around. Flair tells the referee to get Dusty back in the ring, and the referee turns around and says, "I'm trying." Dusty catches Flair trying to grab him from stomps Flair's ankle. Dusty works Flair's ankle for a while and tries a figure four, but Flair pushes him away and Dusty comes up with a small limp. They fight back and forth and Dusty gets a sloppy crossbody, but only gets a 2 count. At one point, Dusty goes for a kick in the corner and Flair moves. Dusty hurts his ankle again against the turnbuckle and Flair goes back to the leg. Flair attacks the leg and gets a figure four of his own, and Dusty manages to flip it over, so Flair gets the chicken shit heel rope break. Flair chops and punches Dusty, who hulks up and hits him with some bionic elbows and a clothesline cover for 2. But gets pushed on top of referee Tommy Young. Tommy is dazed and gets knocked out of the ring, which gives the Andersons a chance to attack. Ole and Arn hit the ring. Dusty fends off Arn with an elbow, but Ole hits Dusty from behind.
He waffles him.
He just waffles him, dude. Just absolutely, completely destroys him. Flair makes the cover. Second referee only makes a 2 count. Flair is frustrated. And walks around the ring. He goes to pick up Dusty off the mat, and Dusty rolls him into a small package for a 3 count. And Flair has lost the NWA Heavyweight Championship. Wrestlers run into the ring, and they try to lift Dusty off the mat, and they're having a hard time because he's a big guy. Flair and the Andersons bail to the outside, and Flair looks pissed as the American Dream celebrates. Dusty, so I'm going to give you my personal thoughts on this match, okay? Nick, you look frozen. Can you hear me? Nick, can you hear me? Of course, we would have technical difficulties right as we're ending. Nick, if you can hear me, you might want to come back in. Go out and come back in. So I'm going to talk about this match for a second. So I felt like this match, Dusty insisted on wrestling his type of match. Instead of the other way around, and it just didn't click. I enjoyed it, but if Flair had led the way in this match, I think it would have been 10 times better, but at least it was serviceable. I gave 3.5 stars. Dusty Rhodes defeats Ric Flair to become the NWA Heavyweight Champion. It should be noted that I still can't see Nick. Rhodes was actually stripped of the title the next week and awarded the win via DQ due to the Andersons running in the ring and attacking Dusty. Flair kept the title, and this is where the term the Dusty finish comes from, with Dusty Rhodes having the title taken from him. Flair keeps the belt throughout the summer, and Dusty ends up beating him finally, and for his 3rd reign as champion. Overall, I gave the match 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought that if it was a Flair wrestled match, if Flair led the way, that it would have been a lot better. But I enjoyed it. And I'm just waiting for Nick to come back in. I don't see him. But Nick note, fun match. Didn't compare to Magnum and Tully. Definitely 3 points. Dusty should have kept the title. Yeah, that's a good note, Nick. I don't know if you can come back in, but hopefully you can, so we can tell the people that we're going to what we're going to be doing next month. Nope, Nick can't come back in. But the rest of the show, Nick. Sorry that Nick can't come back in. I'm going to actually text Nick right now. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. This is crazy. But yeah, so overall, I gave this show a solid 3.5 stars overall. I thought it was really good. The Atlanta Street fight, not so good. But everything else was pretty solid. A lot of blood, but I guess that's 1985 NWA for you. But yeah, Nick, if you can put a graphic up to tell me what you thought of the show overall, star rating, whatever. Street fun overall Magnetar ESD match. Yeah, that's good, Nick. So I'm going to wrap up pretty quick because Nick and I would have gave our final thoughts, but Nick can't get back in. Next month, well, no, this month, it's the 2nd. So this month is my birthday month. I'll be 43 years old. Not a really spectacular birthday, but on Friday, May 30th, 2025, it was my choice for my birthday. So I am going to pick the 1996 Bash at the Beach pay-per-view, where we see the formation of the NWO with Hulk Hogan being the third man. Now, we did not get a lot of notes for this show because there weren't really a lot of notes. Meltzer really didn't have a lot of things. Maybe Nick couldn't find the observers. Meltzer likes to pick and choose what he puts up in the archives. But Nick is going to be put to the test for this one because there was so many goings on with the third man. Would it be Sting? Would it be Lex Luger? Who was it going to be? Another person from the WWF? I mean, there's even, yeah. Yes, thank you, Nick. I was just getting to that. There was even a report by Meltzer that Mabel was being considered for the third man of the NWO. Big Daddy V, or Viscera, for you people who don't know who Mabel is. But yeah, I picked that show. I think it's going to be fun. I just can't wait for the 1996 Bash at the Beach. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and Nick for the 1985 Starrcade review. This will probably be up on demand very soon. And yeah, guys, just thanks so much. We love doing this. We wanted to put this show together for you and all the WCW fans. And I really hope you enjoy it. You're getting another one this month, and then a one in June, and then July, and everything. So we're going to continue doing this. It gets good viewers. I'm Mac for Nick LaRocco, WCW Tag Team Championship partner. I say thank you, and I will see you very soon. Yeah.